Nova's asleep on the laundry, and I'm meant to fold the laundry, but I'm just gonna leave her there. She looks so happy. Hello, my darlings, and welcome to a new mood reading vlog. I have already DNF'd and read some books, but before I start talking about those, I've got some book mail. So I remember back when I ordered Catabasis, I also ordered another book. This is the other book. So this is After the Forest by Cal Woods. That's Bluebell, goddamn. So this is a sprayed edged edition, and I'll show you what it looks like. So this wasn't I think it was a 4.5 star read, but I just loved this edition so much. I mean, look at that, guys. I love it when they have quotes. Blue, no. Okay, let's try that again. I'll show you the end pages as well, because it's got end pages. And it is also signed. Yeah, this was just too stunning to pass up, but I'm cooling it. I'm cooling it with buying the special editions at the moment, but that was a bargain. What am I going to talk about? I started doing infographics. Let me know if you guys really want me to continue doing those, or if you're not really fussed or bothered with them, because they also take a decent amount of time to do. But I know I like seeing them. But if you guys are like, babes, we don't need it, let me know. Or if you're like, hey, Chanel, that's great, I actually really appreciate that, let me know as well. It's going to be a consensus thing. Whoever votes for it or votes against it, that's going to be the winner. Okay, let me get my glasses on so I can read my notes. Okay, so I did pick up Pissants by Brandon Jack. And this book was about a bunch of washed up footy misfits who are coping with dog napping, butt suppositories, and bingo cards of trauma while proving that the real game is surviving the locker room. Reading this book was like eavesdropping at the worst table of bogans at a pub. Everyone's like funny, sad, and massively feral. There was lots of talk of blokes and birds and shitloads of literal piss drinking, and it just wasn't for me. It wasn't for me. I can see why some people would, some Aussies anyway, would really enjoy it. I'm struggling. It just wasn't for me, unfortunately. So I DNF'd that one. And then I picked up Season of Fear by Emily Cooper, which was on my TBR for this month. And this was a YA horror that was set in a village that worships fear. And it was about a girl who feels none, and she ended up having to enter a monster-filled forest to save her sister before an ancient spirit eats her alive. And it was just too YA for me in that respect. So I always try YAs, and sometimes they feel adult enough or just really well written enough for me to look past the fact that the main characters are teenagers, but it wasn't the case with this one. And I know this was also meant to be a thriller. I don't know, whenever there's supernatural elements involved, I feel like it's horror over thriller. Thrillers, I always feel like, for some reason in my head, must be based in the current world without any supernatural influence, but I know that's not the case because there's other supernatural thrillers out there. But yeah, this wasn't thrilling me, so I DNF'd it. And then I picked up The Rotting Room by Viggy Parr Hampton, because this was also on my TBR. My bestie Kate picked this out of the books I sent to her. And this was about a guilt-ridden nun who joins a silent abbey where a dead woman's body just won't rot. And it has become hailed as a miracle by the sisters. But the main character suspects that the divine has nothing to do with it. And the premise just sounded so cool. Unfortunately, this was a case of the writing style and I just did not mix. And it was bogging me down. It was making it feel like a chore to read, and I decided no. So I DNF'd that one as well. So those are the DNFs. They're all done. Now we can get onto the books that I did pick up and read. So I picked up Eurydice Speaks by Claire Gaskin. So this was sent to me by Hunter Publishers. And in this, Eurydice had enough of being silent. She's climbed out of the underworld with a notebook, with a sonnet cycle sharper than Orpheus's cheekbones. The book itself is a linked sonnet series, so the poems repeat and loop with each other. And I'll read it so you can understand what I mean. So I'm just going to go to any page because this is essentially one long poem. Wrapped up in his prophylactics, his we extinguishes me. His willingness is crazy. Aren't all wives crazy? I accepted his relapse. He expects me to. You have no reason to feel, he says. Reason is linear and has no feeling. The ants scrawl over the table. He feels at ease when I am furious with him. Someone walks through my dreams and wakes me, my elbows on the wood. His mind casts a shadow over the valley. The house aches audibly. The house aches audibly. My feet in a stream. I dreamt I watched him as a reptilian man crawl along the bottom trying to stay submerged. The cat a sudden weight on the bed. The wound closes over the anchor. The seed an anchor. You have no recall to feel, he says. Rebound is linear. The scribble over the tablet. He hears an echo when I am furious with him. Someone walks through and wallflowers me. My elegies on the word. His mind castles in shallows. This book of poetry, I feel, gives the mythic muse her own mic, turning grief and constraint into linguistic rebellion. It's not your average Greek mythology retelling. It's a fragmented mirror of identity, love, and transformation. Each poem reverberates with echoes from the underworld, where language is both cage and key. The author dissects myth and womanhood through tightly woven form, balancing beauty and ache in every line. It's cerebral, yet intimate, but unfortunately I found it a little too complex and obfuscated for me. The next, we're going from, I think, this was a little too smart for me. It's hay fever season. I know you're probably thinking, Chanel, you're sneezing in every vlog. It's spring, guys, and the pollen is hitting me. I then went on to reading Silvercloak by L.K. Stephen. In this book, Saffron Killeran's life was shattered when the Blood Moons murdered her parents. It was very much giving Batman's backstory. And then 2 decades later, she's clawed her way into the elite Silvercloak Academy, a detective training ground for magical agents. But her acceptance was built on lies. And when her forgeries unravel, she's given one brutal choice: infiltrate the Blood Moon gang that murdered her parents and burn them from the inside. Unfortunately, their boss's son is super hot, doomed, and possibly her destiny. And what follows is a descent into the criminal underworld, where pleasure and pain are literal sources of power. Love is a liability, and betrayal lurks in every whispered spell. This is the kind of book that grabs you by the throat and whispers, "You sure you want this?" before dragging you through a morally murky fantasy noir where every touch draws pleasure and pain. I would say it's for readers who want their romantasy dark, their heroines ruthless, their love interests one prophecy away from disaster. It was very much giving mob syndicate vibes, I think like mafia style, with Harry Potter wand magic and bisexual fuckfests, because the magic system in this is based on pleasure and pain fueling people. Everybody's basically bi and banging each other, or then you have the opposite, the extreme side of that. We got a lot of sadists and masochists as well. But the cities are either designed to be these sort of playpens of pleasure or prisons of pain. Personally, I would prefer to derive my power from pleasure, but in this world, pain actually gives a bit more of a boost than pleasure, which is also where the BDSM element comes in, because babes, you can then combine pleasure and pain for a powerful combo. Like I said, I was intrigued by the magic system. There were a lot of holes in it though. Bluebell's back. Especially to do with the fact that some spells were rendered illegal and therefore removed from wands, but then other spells, like the killing spell, weren't. So you're telling me, okay, you've banned what is essentially teleportation. People can't teleport because you don't want criminals to be able to get away, but you allowing criminals to use death curses? Make it make sense, guys. Make it make sense. Don't know how that works. And obviously there's black market wands. This is the whole shtick of, like, with Victoria, making machetes illegal now, which is what they've done, and they've put these machete bin drops. And I'm just sitting here thinking, government, come on, you think criminals are going to willingly hand in their weapons, which they use to commit crimes? Bro, give me a break. Give me a break. And then Bluebell, what are you doing? This is a very unflattering top, but I am not getting changed. Saffron also wasn't, okay, before I say anything else, we listen and we don't judge. I did give this book a 5 stars. This is one of those cases where it is not based on quality, okay? It is just based on the fact that I had a really good time while reading it and I read it in one sitting. If I blitz through a book like that and I'm invested, I'm going to give it 5 stars. But I understand that this book is not good. But let me tell you my thoughts about the rest of it. So Saffron is our main character, and she just wasn't fully believable as a double agent. She was way too green and immature and reckless. If her former love interest and classmate Nissa had been the double agent, totally believable and viable. She's competent, she's a killer, she's ruthless. But Saffron, I was like, sure, Jan. There is a fellow wolf companion in this called Rasso, and they stole my heart. They stole my heart, the big floofball. Now, both leads in this, the FMC and the MMC, they are both special snowflakes, okay? They're both essentially chosen ones. So that is a heavy trope in this. I did love how they bonded over a fandom, like the book nerds they are. That was adorable. They are very similar to each other in that they are both so fucked up. So fucked up. There is not enough therapy in the world to fix these two, okay? So yeah, it is dark romance because, like I said, they betray each other, they hurt each other, they heal each other. They are not good people. But it made it very entertaining. There is also, though, a magic element in this that comes in towards the end that is very Deus Ex Machina, and I think some people will hate that. Personally, in this case, I didn't mind it. I'm like, sure, let's see where this goes. What are you going to do with this? What I'm trying to say is this is my version of Fourth Wing and Powerless, okay? Like, I know other people love those books, and those books to me were just too awful to continue. This is my version of that. I am continuing on with the story because I just want to see what these messy bisexuals do. I don't know how it will end. I don't know who she'll end up with because she's got her former lover Nissa and her current lover. What's his name? Why have I forgotten his name? Oh my god, even the blurb doesn't say his name. This says the Kingpin's son. Somebody tell me the guy's name. FMC. No one's mentioning his name. Someone help a girl out. Levan or Levan. It's probably Levan. That's his name. Oh, fuck, that was, yeah, look, it's not an unusual name, okay? That's why it didn't stick. I remember reading it and just, for some reason, I think of rising yeast for bread, sourdough starter. Don't know why Levan makes me think that, but that's what I was thinking in my head. But this is dark. It is gory. It is violent. There's a lot of torture. There is on-page sex, but I'm giving it an M, even though it's a bit kinky. It includes BDSM stuff, mostly bondage. It wasn't super descriptive in terms of, genitalia and fluids and things. Like, it wasn't that descriptive. So I'm giving it an M. I did enjoy it. There wasn't on-page MM though, even though it was alluded to. But there was some, like I said, there's some interesting magic system and components in there, and I liked the darkness of it and the absolute moral ambiguity and essentially villain origin story-esqueness of it. And yeah, I am going to go and buy myself a copy because they're currently selling the sprayed edges editions in the bookstores. I am going to get it. But yeah, I think if you want to read BDSM, Mafia, Harry Potter, this is that. I will say though, even though this is adult, it kind of read a little YA. I know there's a lot of sex and death and stuff, but just, I think it was Saffron mostly, just the way that she was behaving was giving very much YA protagonist. But yeah, there's a lot of trigger warnings for a lot of different things, including addiction. Addiction to drugs is a big one in this as well as obviously things like gambling. A lot of trigger warnings. Look, read, you know, you're all adults, you can all make your own choices about what you want to read. But yeah, this just hit at the right time and I was into it, just flipping through those pages. What am I going to read next? I'm going to read The Island of Last Things by Emma Slowly, which was sent to me by Text Publishing. I've already started it. I am 11 pages through. Let me see what they've listed it as on Goodreads, because it feels like a bit of a genre mishmash. Goodreads says it's sci-fi, dystopian, litfic, fantasy, speculative fiction. So yeah, it's one of those books which is a bit of everything, but so far I'm enjoying it. It does remind me a little bit too of, what's that movie with ScarJo about like the last zoo? Because this is essentially, in this world, the last zoo, and all of the final animals are sent to, you know, this zoo that's been set up in Alcatraz, and these two ladies are zookeepers, and there's a bit of a spark going on, and they've gotten a bit of a, okay, so they call the like super cool animals charismatic. They're charismatic. So yes, I will finish this. I'm also today going to go to the library, one of them, pick up some books. I'm still struggling, guys. I'm so tired. I'm going to pick up some books and I'll show you what I've got and what I'll be reading from there. Oh, I do have so many on Libby as well. This always happens. It's either a feast or a famine with books, and I've gotten a flood. And even at the speed I read, there is no way I'm going to get to all of these before they have to go back. So I'm going to have to make some tough choices, or hopefully I'll pick some up and they just won't work and I'll put them down. But I have so many books that have come in, just so many. So I've also got Very Impressive for Your Age by Eleanor Kirk, which I wanted to give a go because that's just a cover that I keep being drawn to whenever I go to a bookstores. What else have I got here? I've got People Watching by Hannah Bonham Young. I have The Women of Wild Hill by Kirsten Miller. I have Slashed Beauties by A. Rushby. I have Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell by Susanna Clark. And that's just on Libby. So we'll see what else is at the library today. And like I said, I'm going to have to figure out how to do it. Maybe I'll do a try chapter of all of them, and that's how I'll base it on which book I'll pick up next. Besides this one, I gotta go take a nap, guys. But I'll see you later with a book haul.
Hello, cutie. You go back to sleep.
Good morning, guys. I have a book update for you. I finally got some good rest as well, so I'm not going to be yawning my ass off today. So I finished reading The Island of Last Things by Emma Slowly. This was a very melancholic eco-dystopian story, which is set in a rewilded Alcatraz that doubles as a zoo for the last animals on Earth. And you have the main character, Camille, and she is very tender-hearted, naive, gullible, and more comfortable around animals than humans. And then one day, she finds herself rather enamored with a new staff member named Sailor, who hails from the Paris zoo branch, which has shut down, making their Alcatraz zoo the very last one in the world. Sailor brings with her a very brash idealism that is as seductive as it is dangerous. The zoo is founded and financed by a billionaire who runs exorbitantly expensive tours for rich civilians to come and see the animals and pet them. But there is a very cutthroat animal smuggling business going on. So you've got, like I said, these billionaires that are finding animals to essentially save them. And then you've got the illegal smugglers who find animals for individuals to keep as exotic pets. The book had a very, I say the main morality of the book is the argument over whether zoos are good or not. I personally feel like there are good zoos and there are bad zoos. I also feel like zoos should only exist to rehabilitate injured animals before placing them back in the wild, or to try and bolster numbers of close to extinct species that otherwise wouldn't be able to reproduce in the wild, so they can increase the numbers and then slowly send them back out into the wild. I don't agree with keeping animals just for human beings' entertainment purposes. That makes me feel ill. So that's where I stand. Animals that are injured and would otherwise die if left out in the wild, yes, you can care for them, tend to them, but then rewild them. Or, like I said, a species that's almost at extinction, most likely because of human beings' actions, you know, finding a way to repopulate and increase their numbers before, once again, trying to find some kind of external sanctuary to re-release them into where they can thrive and prosper. So in the story, it's the same thing. You've got characters that are against, that are for, and that are in the grey zone. The story itself is a meditation on extinction and what it means to nurture life when the world is dying. So I think what happened is there was some kind of fungus or virus or something. It was not entirely clear, that decimated all of the animals. It seemed to not affect humans, just animals. And also the environment itself, the air quality is extremely poor and toxic, and most of the time people have to wear rebreathers just to be able to breathe the air, and not a lot of things grow. It takes a huge amount of effort. So people are mostly eating these sort of like Soylent Green products. Only a few species of plants have managed to survive, so things like corn and wheat. But the book is mostly set in the Alcatraz Zoo. How I feel about it is that I felt like it was rather slow and sleepy, so the pacing wasn't great, and I was under the impression there was going to be a sapphic element in this. I thought Sailor and Camille were going to be a thing. No, just legitimate gal pals, just friends only. So if you also pick this up thinking, oh, surely it's going to be some kind of lesbian stuff, no, it's not that kind of book. Camille also has very nil personality. She hasn't got a lot of personality, and I need my main characters to have some kind of agency and independent thought. There was a point in this book that was rather shocking, and it did add some excitement to the book because I was getting rather bored. Even with the smugglers, I just never felt any real, danger or excitement. But then this one thing happened, which I didn't see coming, took me by surprise. And I was like, oh, wow, okay, that is an incredible sacrifice to make. And so it also brings up the question, what would you sacrifice for the things that you love? How far would you be willing to go? At what personal cost? What's more important in terms of survival? So that was interesting. But overall, I thought the tone was rather depressing and sad. As you might imagine, animals do die in this. So it's a lot of animal death. And as an animal lover, a world where there are only a handful of animals left is incredibly depressing. And those animals are languishing and just slowly decaying into death. And they are incredibly depressed. For instance, there are certain animals that need to have pack members and they don't. I was also very surprised that they've put the jaguar on the front cover. The jaguar is not part of the plot really at all. They are so minute in terms of their parts. So I'm a bit surprised as to why that was the cover choice. It would have made more sense for the crocodile to be on the cover, but still I don't feel like the animals really had a lot of page time. It was mostly about Camille and Sailor and their conversations, so to speak. So yeah, I think it just needed a little extra something to zhuzh it up. I will say too, I think some people might be disappointed with the very soft ending. Like I said, I was hoping after this very climactic scene, maybe it might spur Camille into doing something, but what she did was so tame. It's like, is that it, babes? Okay, I guess it matters to that one thing, but all right, it was something, I guess. She probably wouldn't have done anything at all if she hadn't met Sailor and seen the lengths that Sailor was willing to go to for the animals. But yeah, that was The Island of Last Things. Books-wise, I'm not sure what I'm going to pick up yet. I'm going to another library today to get some more books. So I will, because I didn't do it yesterday. And I said, I'm going to the library. I was cooked. I was running on fumes. I thought, nah, all I can do is pick up the kids and cook dinner. And I cannot go out and about. So I'm doing that today instead. I've got to do so many things today. Today's errand running day. So I've got to pick up printer ink and I've got to pick up a dress for Indy because I've decided to throw myself a 40th birthday party. I haven't thrown myself a party since I was 21 and I wasn't going to. I was going to wait for my 50th. But then I was telling my aunt this at my cousin's funeral and I realized, well, they're never going to see 50. Sorry, guys. And I might not either. Maybe I'll be the same. I don't know how many years I have left. So why not celebrate now while I can with the people that I love and have a wonderful event be the reason that we all get together rather than everyone only getting together when someone dies. So, sorry, I'm just trying to calm myself down. So yeah, I decided to throw myself a birthday party. Realized that Indy doesn't have any dresses because she's at the age where my eldest daughter V went full tomboy in her fashion sense, and so she doesn't have any hand-me-down dresses because, you know, second child syndrome, 90% of Indy's closet is Valentine's old clothing. Obviously every birthday and Christmas I buy her own stuff as well, but she actually loves her sister's stuff. If she hated it, I would buy her own, you know. I wouldn't make her wear clothes she didn't want to wear, but she loves anything her big sister gives to her, but no dresses. So we realized she's had a growth spurt. She's going to be a tall one, Indy. She's starting to eclipse V, and before long she'll eclipse me. So she's picked a dress. I'm going to go get it. I also have to go thrift shopping because one of the meds I'm on, one of the side effects besides acne, which has been real fun to deal with, was weight gain. So I have gained weight. It is what it is. It's just unfortunate that I very recently sold all of my larger size clothing. So like I said, I've got clothes in 2 sizes, and I thought, oh, you know, there's some stretchy stuff in the second size, but I don't have cocktail dresses, fancy dresses in a size that currently fits me. None of my dresses zip up. So I'm just going to buy a dress in a larger size. So I'm keeping my eye out. I do want something fancy. It's my birthday, you know, so I'm hoping to find something thrifted. I really don't want to buy brand new, but I'm on a time crunch. My party's in 4 weeks, so I've got a short amount of time, but yeah, slowly just go thrifting around, and I'm sure I'll find something. But you know, with thrifting, it's always like that. You can find nothing, or all of a sudden you find a treasure. It's very unpredictable. And look, this is thrifted. All my clothes are thrifted. I almost never ever buy brand new. But I did just thrift quite a few things recently, but none of them are evening cocktail stuff. I tend not to thrift cocktail dresses because I just don't go out in the evening very much, and I have those in my closet. But obviously bigger size no longer have an option. So I'm trying to do that as well. And I think that's all I'm going to get up to today, but I will let you know what I'm reading. I've started listening to Mr. Strange and Jonathan Norell. I don't remember what it's called. I'll put the picture up. I just started listening to it. I'm not sure how I feel about it at the moment. So I'll, like I said, give it a decent amount. It's a fantasy, so I have to figure out how many 100 pages is in listening hours before I decide if I'm going to DNF or not. I'll see you guys though once I've got some library books to show to you. Okay guys, I just got back. It's hectic outside. It is so windy. I've got so much stuff to show you. So much stuff to show you. Let me start with the library hauls. So I did decide to get it. I just found out that this is actually manacled, but without all of the HP references. So this originally was Hermione fan fiction, and that book was called Manacled, and they have, made it possible to publish. I will see how much they've changed, because with Manacled, I DNF'd, because I will never ship a romance in which the MMC grapes the FMC. Just can't get past that. Call me old-fashioned, but that's not how I want the beginning of a love story to go. So we'll see if this is exactly the same. Look, the cover is fantastic, the cover art and the sprayed edges. If it's the same, I'm going to be DNFing it. This is a brick too. I think this is over 1,000 pages. Yeah, it's over 1,000 pages. I think that is absolutely unnecessary. This could have been edited. I'm saying that already without reading it. And then I've got another Hermione fan fiction, even though I don't like Hermione, but I still want to try. So we've got The Irresistible Urge to Fall for Your Enemy by Brigitte Knightley. So this seems a lot more, less intense than the other one. I don't think there'll be grape in this one, but I've got those two. Hey Nova. I also picked up Poems Helen of Troy 1993 by Maria Zoccola. So this is a book of poetry. And then I got some book mail. So I got 2 books sent to me by Spinefex Press, with a special shout out to Rachel. So I've got The Wear of My Face by Liz Murphy. Sorry, there's a shine on that one. And An Embroidery of Old Maps Anew by Angela Costi. So I will be reading those in the next vlog, not this one, but the next one. And then I picked up Indy's dress. So this is what she picked. It's too big. They only had one size left. So my ex-mother-in-law is going to alter it for her because this is what she wanted. It's this pale blue embroidered dress and it was on sale. So we thought, let's just give it a go, see if we can alter it for her. So this is Ariana Grande Cloud, and this is meant to be a dupe for Baccarat Rouge 540, and I'm wearing it right now. I'm not wearing the red one, which is I like that one more, the Extrait. I like the Extrait more than the original, but we'll see how this goes. 1 second, it's saying someone's at my front door. Let's try this. By the looks of it, I wouldn't expect that this would be a spicy fragrance, but maybe I'm wrong. So I got the little one and it comes like this. So let's give this one a go. Let's see what this smells like. That's definitely not a dupe. That is not a dupe. It is way sweeter and more vanilla-y. I have to just let it sit for a bit because it smells like alcohol. Yes, it's not a dupe. I do find the cheaper perfumes tend to have like that real alcoholicness to them straight away. What does this smell like to me? This smells like Vanilla Impulse, but with a bit more, it's got a bit of a caramel edge. I'm going to have to look up the notes for this because I don't even know what's in this. But it's definitely gourmand. It's quite sweet and candy-ish almost. It's nice, but it feels like a teenager. It feels a bit young. But I'll wear it out tomorrow and I'll see how I feel about it, but it's not a dupe. Not even close. Yeah, that's a shame. That's a shame. I also got this. This is a protein collagen bar. I'm not going to try it on camera because I went to an Asian food store and I got some random stuff to try. I don't know what any of this stuff is. Okay, so I've got mango daifuku. So this is, I'm guessing, like mochi. Camera. Yeah, it feels like mochi, which I hate the feeling of, but let's try. I'm sorry. It just tastes really artificial to me, like fake mango flavor. I don't like it. I got these, I don't know what these are. Kirby something or other. Kirby gummy in chocolate. That's what they are. Okay, so they're just little balls. That tastes like strawberry yogurt with a not very yummy gummy inside. Oh, I got this for my kids. It's supposed to be filled with chocolate ganache, but because it's in bread, I'm not going to be eating this little turtle, but I got that for them. Ooh, what else we got? Okay, these I have hope for. So these are macadamia salt and vanilla chocolates. So I do love salty sweet things. In my older age, I can't handle just sweet as much anymore. So got a little chocolate here with vanilla bean flecks in it. Okay, so it's slightly salty vanilla white chocolate with a macadamia inside. I don't mind those actually. I don't feel like that white chocolate though is very high quality. You know, it's a bit waxy. And then I got these. These are peach gummies. Let's try this. Okay, it's kind of cute. It's like a little cat. Okay, so what I'm finding is I don't like artificial fruit flavors. That bugs me. I don't rate those. All right, and then I've got these. These are honey butter chips. I'm slightly hopeful for these ones. Let's see what these are like. So they are indeed potato chips. I need a second for my brain to compute what I'm tasting. This sweet and buttery and salty. I like these. I don't think I could eat a lot because the flavor is very flavorsome. Okay guys, I just have to cut in here. The chips are not good. The chips are not good. The more I ate, the more nauseating the flavor became, so do not recommend. That's nice. Okay, that's the best. You know what? I'm going to try the protein bar. This is peanut butter jelly. Peanut butter jelly. Peanut butter jelly in the baseball bat. Peanut butter jelly. Peanut butter jelly. All right. I'm sorry. This tastes like cardboard. So it's going to be hard to get down. So those are all of the little things I got today. Like I said, I'm leaving the Spinefex books for next vlog. So I'll be going on to one of these. I think I'll read a chapter from each and then decide what I'm feeling. Okay, so I was reading Alchemized and it's the same. It's the same in that the male love interest, Draco or Farron, does grape the MMC in order to impregnate her, so it's not for me. I'm sorry, can't get on board. Will not get on board. So I'm not going to be reading Satisfied. It is a DNF. I'm not even going to bother saying what it's about. Okay, so I feel like Kayla from Books on Lala because my daughter's just started doing soccer and now I'm at training and matches. So I'm stuck here for an hour and a half today just for some training. So I thought I would read the first chapter of The Irresistible Urge to Fall for Your Enemy. So let's see how we go. You're loving the angle, guys? It's so artistic. So we're going to the first chapter and it's called Irresistible Bastard Meets Immovable Bitch. Okay, so I've just read the first chapter. This is very humorous. It's very funny. Everything is bickering and banter up the wazoo. All the old lady characters in this are an absolute cranky delight. You know, I love myself a persnickety, wise-cracking crone of a woman. So in this story, there are different, what would you call them? Magic paths, so to speak. You've got the bright paths, so think people that are using magic for good, and the Duskin paths, people that have nefarious magic. So you've got the Halens, and their credo is harm to none, and they're basically healers, and that is the house that Oriane belongs to, so she's a healer. You've got Igonauts, which their credo is mind over matter, and they are basically engineers. Then Layfarers, Hail the Traveller. They can navigate and travel through ley lines and waystones. And then you've got Wardens, Will over Want, they're protectors essentially. And then you've got the Duskin Paths. So you've got Agonors, mind over flesh. They can possess you and mind control you. Draors, Death Devours All. They are Death Knights, so I'm assuming they can kill people. And Firons, Fear Not the Dark. One sec, let me close that window. It's probably very loud. It's windy.
Time reset. Please calibrate by connecting to your mobile phone.
Yes, as I was saying, Firons, they are shadow assassins, so they can go unseen through shadow walking, and that is what our male love interest Osric is, and he is in a bad way. He's got a boo-boo that might be terminal and he needs the best healer's help, and the best healer is Oriane, and he was trying to figure out what's the best way to get her to help, and in the end she needed funding. There's a pox that is killing all the orphan children and no one will fund them because there's no money to be made, so he's offered $20 million for her clandestine help. They've got to keep it on the down low. Can't be seen associating with each other, light and dark, what have you. So she's agreed begrudgingly. Like I said, it's just he got so emasculated by her and this other old bitch, Xanthi, who fucking love her. She's amazing. Want more Xanthi in this. But yeah, Xanthi was the one that strong-armed Orion into doing it. What did she say? Because if Orion doesn't, they get the money. They won't have to keep fondling the pendulous balls of the granting agencies. And I won't have to wade hip-deep through dying children to get here. Let's not be precious about 20 million in gold. So then she said to Osric, you're only half as stupid as you look. Look, it's silly, but it's fun. It's so light-hearted, and I don't mind the humor. It is heavy-handed. Chapter 2 is Orion wishes death upon her new patient. I'm going to continue on. So the first chapter was 30 pages. Live, laugh, loathe, guys. So we'll see how these enemies to lovers go. But like I said, so far it's just a good old time. It's a fun, silly time. Okay, so she was just given a card by Osric, and on his card it says art, acquisitions, assassinations by appointment only. The card was perfumed, which offended Orion more than the assassination appointments. Swanstone was a scent-free establishment. Look, I'm getting chappy. This is pretty funny though. Okay, so she specified to Osric that they had to be in a sanitized environment, and he's just taken them to a barn. And he said, don't worry, it's perfectly clean. There hasn't been a cow in here for months. Present company accepted. He's fucking called her a cow, bro. Oh my god. Oh my god. I am loving it. Okay, I forgot to mention too that they have these things called Daofoals. And Daofoals, they do remind me of demons from the Golden Compass series. And literally Daofoal means devil in Old English. And they're what they are essentially animal companions that deliver messages to other people, and they all take different animal forms, and even the Daofoals are sassy AF. So I'm also enjoying like all of the little bits of magic system and lore and world building that's going on as well. But like I said, it is just heavy with the humor. It is not a single line that isn't some kind of barb or insult or tete-a-tete with everybody. Everybody's funny in this. Everybody's a comedian. Orion suffers in nature. Sometimes same, bro, not gonna lie. Never thought I'd see the day where I read the word gangrene gob jobs. Oh my god, this is going to be saucy too, because they've just gone into a brothel and there's a man there who's remarkably well endowed. They've called him the Clydesdale, and Osric's like, why don't you go have a play? And she said, no thank you, I don't want a bruised cervix. And they're talking about what he does when it's not erect, throw it around his neck like a feather boa as you would. And then there's also a man giving himself some autofellatio, and she has to comment she admires his spinal flexion and lets him know, and then he uncorks himself with a pop. Is this gonna have sex scenes? Guys, Orion enjoys penises and vulvas equally. We got a bi babe on the books. I'm gonna stop here because otherwise I'm gonna give you a play-by-play by this book. Okay, before I go, they're at a bathhouse and there's a sign saying like, don't jizz in the pool, and then other signs saying too late. And then she's like saying, don't you think that the water is unusually milky? And Osric said, do you think that this dude's loads are so vast he's filled 5 pools with them? And she said, did you see the Clydesdale? Anything is possible. This is just dirty and funny. Guys, I forgot to tell you about the other path. So besides the light and the dark, you've got the dim path. And these are the hedge witches, as above, so below. And they have been persecuted almost to extinction. I already love them. I'm like, yes, I'll be a hedge witch. And they're on their way to try and cure him. So yeah, they're going by the old ways because the current forms of medicine can't do anything for him. And she's warned him, be careful of the hedge witches. They have even less regard for the law than you. And they consider men a nuisance. So I cannot wait to meet a hedge witch. In case you're interested, these are the orders. They call them the orders. So they've all got their own symbols, which are pretty cool. Like out of these ones, I probably like the eye the most. But then we've got the hedge witch. Sylvie in the window. Hey, honey. Hi. Good morning, guys. I have an update for you. Look, I think this is why it sometimes pays to pick up books that you don't think you're going to like, because you could be pleasantly surprised. So I did finish reading The Irresistible Urge to Fall for Your Enemy by Brigitte Knightley. Or was it Brigitte? I didn't look that up. So this is about a hot assassin who looks like a bulked up Draco who hires his least favorite STEM babe, who looks like an ethnically ambiguous Hermione, to fix him. And somehow they end up mixing medicine, murder, and mutual yearning like it's a lab experiment gone sexually tense. This was a really fun blend of bloodied hands, intellectual yearning, and dirty, dirty humor. Osric is the kind of deadly, unhinged man who says, "I will kill for you," and quite literally means it. And Orion is the morally upright genius who wishes she didn't find that hot. The prose is very witty, acerbic, horny, and faintly tragic. It's giving Mr. and Mrs. Smith energy. Every conversation these two have feels like foreplay disguised as a roast. The sexual tension is so dense, it qualifies as atmospheric pressure. You also have, separate to what's going on between those two, a pox plague mystery, and that kind of ties the romance together with some actual stakes, besides him also being on the brink of death. It takes enemies to lovers and turns it into a mystery rom-com. I loved it. I had such a fun time. There's so many cool little things about the world. There are these creatures called critique crickets, and they literally just hurl insults at you. I think with this book, if you don't like the heavy-handed, constant humor, you won't like it. If you read that and you think this is stupid, put it down. If, however, you find yourself smirking and chuckling, you're going to have a good time like I did. Because it's so saturated with jokes, some of the jokes do end up repeating. But like I said, I laughed out loud. I was smiling and smirking my way through the book, and it is a slow burn. So this is a duology. All that happens in this is a very chaste kind of kiss. Like, it's not that intense. So you're not getting a big romantic payoff in this one. Obviously, I'm hoping in the next one, it's got to be an on-page sex scene, surely, with the amount of just regular dirty talk these guys are spewing on a daily basis. But yeah, I was very surprised. I can't believe I did actually enjoy one of these Hermione fanfics. But as I said, I liked all the different orders that were in this. Everyone's magic also comes at a personal cost to them, so the cost is always different for each character. And there's enough going on outside of the slow simmering tension between these two to keep me interested as well. And like I said, the old bitches in this are a fucking delight. I love them. It is pretty bloody. There is murder and assassinations, and he does not make apologies for who he is or what he does for a living. He is an assassin, that is his job, and he will kill whoever he's paid to kill. He doesn't let a pesky thing like a moral conscience get in the way of that. I apologize for the ambient background. My daughter and her friends are here. We're about to go to soccer tryouts. So yeah, that was fantastic. I have already ordered a special edition because yes, that's what happens. These fantasy romances or these romantasies always end up having special editions, and I can't help myself. If I can get one of those over just a regular copy, I will do that. So I've done that. So that's on the way. I also bought Silvercloak as well, but I did not get a special edition of that because that was with Fairy Loot. And like I said, Fairy Loot, the buggers don't just sell individual copies of the book on their website, so you can only find them for price gouging amounts on eBay. And no, I'm not spending $200 on Fairy Loot edition. I spent already a large amount on Catabasis, but that's I don't think I'll ever see a book more beautiful than that to me. That's just my cup of tea. Now, besides that, I am reading The Women of Wild Hill by Kirsten Miller. So this is about a bloodline of witches. They all have their own powers. they are tied to this house on Wild Hill, to the original witch who was hung and killed there, and they serve this sort of feminine god, and they've had a falling out. They've got some family squabbles going on, but something is calling them back together once again. I'll give you a bigger synopsis of it once I have finished the book. I am enjoying it. It is giving triple-faced goddess witchy ways, but it's also very man-hating. Like, there's feminist and then there's feminist man-hating, and this is feeling more like the latter. We'll see how we go, how it turns out. I'm about 100 pages into it, so I think I probably will finish it. I don't know. Sometimes I might DNF a book 80% of the way in. It does happen. Besides that, I feel like I was talking in a weird register. I need to calm myself down. Sometimes I'm anxious and I don't realize I'm anxious until I hear myself. I am dropping the kids off with their dad. It's their 1 day a week at their dad's house, and I'm going to see one of my best friends who I haven't seen in months to catch up. I'm also going to pop into the library to pick up some more books that have come in, so you also get a library haul today as well. So I'll touch base with you guys later on. I'm not sure I'm gonna like. Yum, yum, yum. Okay guys, I'm back. It was wonderful to see my bestie, and she gave me free tickets to see The Roses. She works in the movie industry. So I'm going to ask my mum if she wants to come see this with me, because I actually do want to see this movie. So that was very serendipitous. I think I am crooked. I think that's better. I legitimately asked my friend if I should sell this top because I wasn't sure about this situation. And then while we were at the cafe, this little girl, she looked to be about 6, came up and she said, "Excuse me, miss, I just wanted to tell you that I think you're really pretty and I think your top is really beautiful." And I was like, okay, I'm going to keep this top because a 6-year-old said I look pretty in it. So that's how it works. Yeah, I still hate this, but I can't deny a 6-year-old. So I'm going to keep the top. Oh, also insurance update with the guy that smashed into the back of my car while we were on the freeway. It's been months now, guys. So my insurance called to tell me that his insurance is still claiming they believe I'm at fault. And I said, hey, can you please tell me what reason they're giving? It's been months now. I need to know what's their reason. And they said that I didn't leave him enough stopping space. And I laughed. And I said, so basically they're admitting that he was tailgating me on the freeway, but somehow they're spinning it that it's my fault that I didn't make sure the guy behind me was far enough away so he could stop with the changing traffic conditions. And they said, yeah, we're not budging from our stance that you were definitely not at fault. And I'm like, okay, great. What happens from here? You know, so they said that they now have to engage a specialist to review the case and decide who was at fault in the instance of us being on a freeway, so that's like a highway, and him smashing into the back of my car when the traffic on the highway slowed down. So yeah, I thought it would be very cut to the chase and quick, especially because you know, the fact that he was abusive to me and then refused to give me his details after the incident. And I reported the incident to the police and my insurance agency straight away, and he dodged them for over a month before finally replying, and yet somehow he believes he's the victim, because that's how a victim would act, guys. In this situation, I thought, oh my God, surely this will be over quickly. No, it's been going on 3 months. So yeah, this is the only accident I've ever been in my life, and it's been an awful experience, let me tell you. And it sucks. I cried many times because I just couldn't believe that this guy was essentially committing insurance fraud and perjury and getting away with it when he smashed into the back of my car on a freeway. But here we are, still ongoing. So my car is still smashed up and can't do anything until this case is settled. I went to the library. I picked up Hauntress by Minitaro Mochizuki. I think this is a manga about a college student leading an unremarkable life until one day the doorbell rings. So we'll see what this is like. I picked up Wildcat Dome by Yuko Tsushima. And this is about 2 orphans. And then there's the Fukushima nuclear catastrophe and they reunite after that. So I'm not sure if this will be for me, but just grabbed it. And this one I'm looking forward to. This is Moderation by Elaine Castillo. Look at that beautiful cover. Like, that is stunning. It says, sometimes people just click. So I think this is probably a weird girl litfic. Oh, it says a highly charged, passionate, tender love story. Maybe I'm completely wrong about that, but gave it a go because this is definitely cover porn. That's everything. I'll see if I end up going to the movies today or not, and I'll update you once I've done some more reading. Hello, my darlings. I have finished the last book for this reading vlog, and that book was The Women of Wild Hill by Kirsten Miller. So this is about generations of female witches from the Duncan family that have lived at Wild Hill, or really in a cottage on Wild Hill, which is on Long Island. And each of them inherited different powerful gifts. After a tragedy, the last of them leaves and the family becomes estranged. And the main story focuses on 3 individuals. 2 of them are sisters, Brigitte and Phoebe. I don't know if it's supposed to be Brigitte or Brigitte, but I'm just going to go with Brigitte. And then Phoebe's daughter, Sybil. But one day they are all summoned back quite violently to Wild Hill by the Old One, which is this supposedly feminine spirit or ancient power that has grown angry at humanity and how the world has become. And so they have to reconnect, unveil family secrets, and confront past traumas while they each discover or reclaim their magical gifts. And if they can sort out their shit, they might just be able to have the power to bring about change and take down the patriarchy. Unfortunately, this took a massive nosedive for me. I still like the idea of it, but the way it was executed did ruffle my feathers a bit, and I'm going to let you know what my issues were. So first of all, the reasons why the sisters were estranged was fucking ridiculous. Whenever there's a miscommunication trope, or in this case, zero communication trope, and both of them have just made assumptions and never once confronted their sister or spoken to their sister or tried to resolve anything, that drives me insane. They didn't speak for like 30 years. Are you joking? Grow up, man. We're in an age too where we live in technology. They wouldn't have sent one text, one email, nothing, but both of them are also spying on each other because they want to keep up to date with what their sister is doing. It just felt beyond the pale ridiculous. And then even after they reconnect and they finally get to the bottom of, you know, the wedge that between them and realize how stupid it is, they still just immediately lurch into bickering and animosity. And these women are in their 40s and they're calling each other a stupid bitch. Okay, cool. And whilst I do like that this book was brimming with female rage fantasy, it did end up going full scorched earth on men. Okay, so it did end up going the other way. At the end of the book, they were like, oh, there are some good men. I'm like, really? Are there? Because the way that you've been acting and talking this entire time made it feel like all men suck and must die. I feel like you can have feminism without resorting to murdering all men. Hot take, but I don't think all men must die. This book felt that way though. The amount of homicides committed, insane. Insane in the membrane. There was also multiple generations in this. So we're going back all through the line and we're getting stories of all of the women and all of their daughters, and it was just too much. I started getting confused with which woman was what and what was her powers and what was her timeline, because also the women in this family can see their dead ancestors, so their dead ancestors are always making appearances, and it just got a bit too muddled and confusing. There were also romances in this with the women, and they were just, I don't know, they just lacked any chemistry whatsoever. They were all incredibly mid. The book is also very heavy with its agenda, and it does talk about things like capitalism, environmentalism, feminism, sexism, all of the things. However, the one major issue that I had with this book was that this god who forces the women to do her bidding, her will, is very much of the vein that women must make sacrifices for the greater good, for the agenda. Okay, and some of these sacrifices that these women were forced to undertake, just put up and shut up and do your part, was allowing themselves to be raped repeatedly, was being forced to have children so that they can continue the line, because there was eventually a chosen 3, very charmed, that would be the ones to finally take this god's game plan to the end zone. And I'm just like, yeah, no. This god is trying to claim that they're furthering women's agency by taking away women's agency. Makes sense. Totally logical. Sounds legit. It adds up. So yeah, it just didn't sit right with me. I've given it like a 3 because I like the ideas of it, but the way it went about it was just, no, not my vibe. Gets a lot of comparison to practical magic, and absolutely, it definitely is giving that. It's giving a lot of other books too that I've read, so it's nothing new in my opinion, and I feel like other books did it better. But those were all of the books that I read for this reading vlog, so let me sum them up from you in the order of enjoyment for me personally. So we have The Women of Wild Hill by Kirsten Miller, 3 Estranged Witches, lots of family drama, a haunting old mansion, a powers inherited secret, and one angry spirit demanding a magical revenge tour on the patriarchy. We then have Eurydice Speaks by Claire Gaskin. Eurydice escapes the underworld armed with sonnets instead of songs, rewriting her own myth, one sharp shimmering line at a time. The Island of Last Things by Emma Slowly, The Last Animals in the World and the Zookeepers Who Give Them Their All. The Irresistible Urge to Fall for Your Enemy by Brigitte Knightley. Enemies forced to collaborate. One heals, one kills. Both fall helplessly, inconveniently, catastrophically in love, but won't admit it. And then Silvercloak by L.K. Stephen, which was my 5-star read of this vlog. A girl fakes her way into the magic detective school for revenge and accidentally majors in crime, chaos, and falling for the boss's son. Those were all the books that I read in this reading vlog. Let me know down below what your most recent read was, or if you're not sure what to comment, give me a heart emoji in a color of your choosing. And until next time, stay wild, Star Child.